Recorded Books presents To Do or Don't by J.C. Ryan, narrated by Dan John Miller. Prologue. It wasn't the kind of letter she wanted to write on a computer and entrust to a hard drive, let alone send as an email. Kristen lifted her fingers off the keyboard and let them hover in midair. Her hands were shaking, her fingers felt like ice. She'd bitten her nails and her cuticles down to the quick, trying to decide whether she really wanted to do this or not. It was stupid, and yet she didn't know if she really had a choice. Dear Conrad, the letter started, and then stopped. She chewed the inside of her cheeks until they too were ragged, then forced herself to stop. She got up and started pacing around the second bedroom in her apartment, one of the many in the 1940s apartment building. She was setting it up as her first real office. She had used barrister bookcases along one wall. Okay, most of them were filled with paperback novels at this point, but she did have a few case law books in a stack on the floor, which she was going to shelve as soon as she could figure out how she wanted to organize everything. Her computer desk was still the same cheap pressboard desk she'd had since she was in 8th grade, and had two worn spots in front of the keyboard where her wrists had been resting all those years. A framed picture of her parents hung on one side of her monitor, the notorious RBG on the other. In other words, it was starting to feel like a real home. Even the overly shaggy green rug underfoot was something that she had chosen for herself. It was a pain to vacuum. She was always eating at her computer and getting morsels of food into it. But it was hers, and she loved it. It was one of those cool, damp, early May evenings that made her want to open the windows and let in the fresh air. But she knew if she did, she would start shivering and end up slamming her windows shut while wrapping herself in the duvet off her bed. She compromised by pulling at the sticky old window in her office until it opened an inch and a half and putting on a giant black buttonless sweater that flipped over her shoulder like a scarf. After a few more circuits of the room, she found her fleece slippers and put them on, scuffing through the overly shaggy rug. The cold, damp air coming from the bottom of the old double-hung window smelled fresh and clean, like the fresh fog in the morning on the way to work. She shouldn't write the letter. She knew that. But she'd already slept with the guy, so really, what harm could it do? Other than completely destroy her self-respect? God, it was so sordid. She'd slept with a married man, and now she needed to know whether he'd leave his wife for her. She wanted the answer to be no. But in her dreams, the answer was yes. She would wake up from a dream of a wedding out on the coast, a big grin stretching her face, and then she would shiver in terror. Having a secret affair was one thing. Spending the rest of her life trying to live down a status as the other woman was another. She was 100% guaranteed to get fired from her paralegal job, for one thing. Her uptight, holier-than-thou boss would find some excuse to fire her. And then there was trying to explain things to her parents. Was she in love with him? She knew that she couldn't seem to say no to him. Everything he wanted, she wanted too. She'd been in love before, or thought she had. It hadn't felt like this. If only he wasn't already taken. She should just tell him she never wanted to see him again. Boom. Problem solved. Her computer beeped through her headphones, which were sitting off to the side of the desk. One of the browser tabs flashed. She'd just received a message. She flipped over to the tab. It was her best friend, Nancy, saying she had seen Conrad's car at his wife's parents' house. Nancy was a little bit of a stalker. She should have never become a paralegal like Kristen. She should have gone with detective work. Blonde, tall, gorgeous, coordinated enough to play volleyball for a local league, she was everything that Kristen wasn't. She was also about 10 times more unethical. "Want me to wait around for him to leave?" Nancy wrote. Kristen rolled her eyes. "Thanks, but no thanks," she wrote back. "What are you doing, sitting around and moping again? If you want him, go get him." At his wife's parents' house? Nancy, you are the classiest
Sample complete. Ready to continue?